Coming up, the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office wants your help locating a van stolen from Riverton schools.
Lock in. We got a hot one to start our week. As a matter of fact, we are already throwing up heat advisories across the 4 states, the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the Joplin Public Library celebrates 120 years of bringing fun and learning to the community.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories and much more in just a moment. First, let's go to Michael Hayslip.
Scorcher.
Yeah, it is.
I would love to know what defines everybody's idea of a scorcher, because we've got one coming our way, already sitting at 80 degrees over 7th and Range Line in Joplin, south wind 15 miles per hour. We have a heat index in effect right now. Already a 4-degree difference between our temperatures and what it feels like. Slew of 80s running through the central portion of the 4 states, including Pittsburgh, Lamar, Miami, though Chanute up at 81, and Monette right now at 78. Skywatch Storm Tracker. We're going to check out what's happening out to the west right here, because the sweeping radar is trying to pick up a little Gulf moisture that's trying to throw down a sprinkle or two, but that's all it amounts to. More importantly, we are locked in with heat advisories for our counties in orange, drop into northeast Oklahoma. Those are excessive heat warnings where it could feel easily like triple digits down to the south right there. And as a matter of fact, this heat wave lasts from the Gulf all the way up to the Great Lakes. So this thing is not fooling around, this heat wave that we're all locked into. Weather trend for today, pushing up around 95 degrees, so feeling about like 103, 104 here a little bit later on. As far as future track goes, the rain stays out to the east of us, and like I said, we are just locked in for a good old-fashioned June heat wave. And so instead of focusing on rain this week, we're focusing on trying to stay cool, because even 95, 93, 91 looks like we stair-step down. But the humidity is not going to help us out. It's just going to be prevalent each and every afternoon. Look at those overnight lows. Still able to maintain mid-70s all the way to the weekend.
Yeah. Took off the hot and warm on Thursday and Friday, so I'm going to pretend those are cool days.
Well, scorching is too long to fit on the panel. It would have to say score, and then I have to put a dash.
You just have it just a couple letters for each one, so it just continues throughout the week.
Just scorching, so it goes from Monday all the way to really through. I could put it through Friday if you wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, yesterday was pretty warm. Pretty warm.
Tad bit humid.
Yeah.
Tad
just
bit.
A little.
I almost put on the air conditioner. I was like that close.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah. Mine has been running. Definitely been running.
I was like, nah.
All right.
Good.
Thanks, Michael. Well, about 5 o'clock Saturday morning, a 2020 Ford XL 10-passenger van was stolen from Riverton schools. Now, this photo provided is an exemplar photo. The school logo, Ram's Head Riverton Schools, USD 404, is featured on it. It's on the doors. Anyone with information about this crime is asked to contact the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, Kansas, at 620-429-3992 or text TIP Cherokee to the number 888-777. We'll bring you updates on the story as it develops on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Officials with the Grand River Dam Authority say they may have recovered the body of a missing man in Grand Lake. Around 8 on Saturday night, GRDA police officers received a call from boaters who said they spotted a body in the water. Officers arrived about a mile north of Pensacola Dam along Langley Bluff. They say the clothing on the body matched the description of Troy Young of Bixby, Oklahoma, who was last seen leaving Cedar Point Marina on May 28th. Authorities say official identification will come from the Oklahoma Medical Examiner. MoDOT wants public input for a major upcoming project. Residents are asked to fill out an online form discussing what they feel needs to be improved along 7th Street in Joplin from Schifferdecker to Rangeline. Some things they're looking at include pavement improvements, safety and traffic flow, and sidewalks. The work is scheduled for 2024 and 2025. MoDOT is budgeting just under $30 million for the project. You can find more information on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. One area library turns the page on another year. On Sunday, the Joplin Public Library celebrated its 120th year anniversary. The library is the largest library between Tulsa and Springfield. They were joined by Senator Bill White and other state representatives while receiving dedications from both offices.
We're very lucky to have the support that we have from the community, whether that be the individual citizens in the community, whether that be the city people, whether that be community organizations around town. We have a ton of community partnerships, and without that support, without that drive for people to partner and work with us, we would not be as successful as we are today.
Library now holds more than 100,000 books. Wow. Well, tens of thousands took part in rallies over the weekend demanding changes in gun laws. Wendy Gillette has more.
Enough is enough. We demand change.
From Portland, Maine to New York City, San Antonio, Texas to San Francisco and hundreds of cities in between.
Save our kids, not the guns.
Tens of thousands of Americans marched for their lives, pleading for more gun control.
It's our colleges. It's Parkland. It's Columbine.
Yes.
It's Sandy Hook.
Right.
And we need to say no more.
What do we want? Justice. When do we want it?
The largest demonstration was at the National Mall in Washington. The second March for Our Lives rally attended by an estimated 40,000, including the son of 86-year-old Ruth Whitfield, one of 10 killed in a mass shooting at a grocery store in Buffalo in May.
We decided as a family to go public in our grief. We thought that was the best way to seek justice for our mother and the other victims of this violence.
The first March for Our Lives rally was held 4 years ago, organized by survivors of the mass shooting at a high school in Parkland, Florida.
I'm here because I don't want anybody to live this nightmare anymore. No matter your politics, no one should. I'm here because, like you, I love this country. And for it to function, we need to understand that rights are power, and with power comes responsibility.
Parkland's former mayor, Christine Hunchofsky, is now a Florida state representative.
If you look at where the American people are on this, there is such strong support for universal background checks, such strong support for red flag laws.
No more silence in gun violence.
The demonstrators want change, but progress has been slow, with a bipartisan group of senators still working on a potential compromise on gun control legislation. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, New York.
There were an estimated 450 events held on Saturday. That makes up 4% of the world's population, but accounts for nearly 10% of gun murders. Well, you might get a glitchy signal this week when you go to watch KOAM or Fox 14, but don't worry, it's a sign of progress. We're going to be broadcasting from a lower temporary antenna while a crew installs a new, more technically advanced antenna at the top of our tower. It's the final step in our More Power project. This allows some viewers who previously lost our signal to receive us once again. If everything goes according to plan, we'll be back up and running and stronger than ever by the end of June. Coming up in our 6 and our 7 o'clock shows, we'll have a special guest in studio to give us more information on what you can expect from the new transmission tower.
How big is said tower? 24,000 pounds. 24,000 pounds going 1,000 feet up into the sky. It is truly, truly a marvel to watch them work. All right, we've got a heat index already in effect, feeling like the mid-80s throughout most of the 4 states right now, an indicator that by the time it's all said and done, we're going to be pushing up to actual temperatures around 95, feeling about like 105 this afternoon. 7-day forecast, no reprieve from the heat. We're going to run that all the way into the weekend.
All right, let's look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Oklahoma Sooners find themselves 1 win away from punching their ticket to their first College World Series in over a decade. But could they deliver? We've got the details in sports. And the January 6th Select Committee begins its second day of hearings into the attack on the U.S. Capitol. And the first COVID vaccinations for children under 5 could take place as soon as next week. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Pittsburgh Post 64 returning to action, a consolation game for this weekend's regional showcase as the Patriots went 1-1 in in pool play. On Sunday, Post 64 meeting Carl Junction for the final game of the weekend. Patriots ended on a high note as they beat the Bulldogs 8-2. Caden Harrison, 5 innings, strikes out 5 batters. Peyton Morrow putting together a nice day at the plate. How about a double, a triple, and 3 runs batted in. Oklahoma found itself one way a win from their first trip to the College World Series since 2010. The unranked Sooners trying to beat 4th-ranked Virginia Tech one more time to punch their ticket to Omaha. A decisive Game 3 in Blacksburg at the Super Regional as Oklahoma wastes no time. Tanner Treadway crushes the home run to left field. Oklahoma with an early 2-0 lead off of 2 solo homers. In the 4th, Treadway blasts his second one of the day. Get this, 4 for 5, 2 home runs, 2 doubles. Oklahoma up 5-2 in the bottom half. Jack Hurley high and deep in foul territory. Check out Kendall Pettis. You gotta be kidding me. What a catch. Flips over the wall and hangs on it. And then Pettis delivers at the plate. It's a solo home run as Oklahoma runs away with it. You're gonna catch it, I'm gonna wait for you to hit it. Oklahoma, on to Omaha we go as the Sooners win it 11-2. Game 2 of the Chapel Hill Super Regional between the Tar Heels and Arkansas Razorbacks. Jalen Battles starts the scoring in the 4th, rips a double down the line. Chris Lanzilli scores all the way from first base, and the Hogs up early. Next inning, Arkansas extends the lead. Braden Webb up, and away to right center. That's going to make it 2-0. Looks like they're playing in a cavern out there. Something about that park, it just always is disconcerting to watch. Bottom 9, tie game, 2 on. Slavens walks it off, singles through the gap. Arkansas, Omaha bound as they're headed to the College World Series with the 4-3 walk-off winner. Cards looking for a sweep against the Reds on Sunday. 3rd inning, Nolan Arenado continues his torrid pace. 2-run home run to left, number 11 on the year. Cards jump out to a 3-0 lead, but the next inning, Reds able to tie it up. TJ Friedel line drive single to right field. And like that, we are knotted at 3. We got a big Albert sighting. He's going to even it up once again. Not going to get out of here, but it's going to hop over the fence. Ground rule double for Pujols. Back and forth we go until the former Cardinal Tommy Pham. Instead of talking about fantasy football, he's actually doing a little hitting. Pham with the home run. Cards scored 2 in the bottom of the 9th. Tried to walk it off for the 2nd straight night, but came up short as the Reds win it 7-6. Also on Sunday, Royals closing out a 4-game set with the Orioles. Kansas City showing some fight, but Baltimore hangs on and wins it 10-7 and ends up splitting the series. Hunter Dozier did go 4 for 5 for KC. 2 runs scored and 2 RBIs. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, intense fighting continues in eastern Ukraine. Russian and Ukrainian forces vie for control of another key city. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Just a touch past 5:17 and a gorgeous, gorgeous sight over 7th and Rangeline right there as we face off to the north. So the on right-hand side of your screen, being the east with the sun beginning to illuminate that 4-state sky. Current conditions, 80 degrees with a pretty good south wind coming in at 15 miles per hour. We've got a whole bunch of 80s dotting the board already pre-sunrise, from Fort Scott all the way down to Miami, all the way down to Grove, as a matter of fact. Throw Anderson in there. Chanute, our clubhouse leader right now at 81, and 70, it looks like 78 is as low as we are, an indicator of what's going to transpire this afternoon, because if we're already this warm, we've already got the Gulf moisture, and we've already got double-digit winds in from the south. We are in the midst of a hot one. Skywatch Storm Tracker keeping all the precipitation out to our east. Earlier we were talking about a little bit trying to develop up to the west right there, but it's taken more of a northerly track. So they've got a little rain, or a little morning rain in Kansas City. But even if you're going to be on the road throughout the entire Midwest, you're going to be good to go for today. Let's talk a little bit more about this heat, because we have a heat advisory that's indicated for our counties there in orange that encompasses pretty much 90% of the 4 states, with heat indices reading close to 110. And then when we get into that pinkish color, that's an excessive heat warning down in northeast Oklahoma, where they could be pressing up in between 110 to 115. Look at that, stretches from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to the Great Lakes. Just a good old-fashioned heat wave riding the Mississippi and then kind of pinching together either side of the Midwest as well. The Skywatch Storm Tracker shows you that definitive warm front, and then it kind of carves out right here through central Kansas and just about to the panhandle of Oklahoma. That's no help for us. You can tell it even gets a little hotter there as you head toward Kansas City. Our weather trend for today, as we're going to push up around 95 degrees, and like I mentioned, feeling about, say about 110 later on this afternoon. No worry about any rain. Our biggest threat for the next several days is going to be finding a way to stay cool, because the old muggy meter is going to throw us up in the oppressive category for pretty much the entire week. Now, even though we go down a little bit on the mercury between Monday, Tuesday, and 95, 93, 91. I mean, we're right there, 93 on Thursday. So maybe psychologically it feels a little bit better that we drop down into the low 90s, but the humidity is certainly not going to help us one bit. Time to turn our attention to the KOAM Instapoll on our KOAM News Now Facebook page. House Select Committee investigating the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol, beginning its second day of hearings later this morning. That was after last Thursday's primetime debut. Hearing expected to focus on the former president's efforts to spread falsehoods about a stolen election. Nick Calloway with the latest.
The January 6th Select Committee is ready for round 2 of hearings looking into the attack on the U.S. Capitol. Panel members say they found enough evidence for the Justice Department to weigh a potential unprecedented criminal indictment against former President Trump for trying to overturn the 2020 election results.
Ultimately, once the evidence is accumulated by the Justice Department, it needs to make a decision about whether it can prove to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt the president's guilt or anyone else's. But they need to be investigated if there's credible evidence, which I think there is.
Representative Adam Kinzinger, one of 2 Republicans on the 9-member panel, says the hearings should serve as a warning.
If we have people in power, whether it's in politics or law enforcement or the military, if we have any people that are unwilling to put their oath above any loyalty to a person, no law matters.
The hearings, which are expected to run through June, kicked off in prime time on Thursday.
January 6th was the culmination of an attempted coup.
A Capitol police officer who suffered a concussion in the deadly riot called it a war scene.
It was carnage. It was chaos.
President Trump's 2020 campaign manager, Bill Stepien, is among those scheduled to testify as the panel focuses today's hearing on Mr. Trump's efforts to spread unsubstantiated claims of election fraud. Nick Calloway, CBS News, New York.
In March, a federal judge in California said in a ruling in a civil case that President Trump, quote, more likely than not, end quote, committed federal crimes in seeking to obstruct the congressional count of the Electoral College ballots on January 6, 2021. Former President Trump has denied all wrongdoing. No president or ex-president has ever been indicted. Our question for you this morning is, are you watching the January 6 hearings? You can connect to us, KOAMNewsNow.com/vote, or via our Facebook page at KOAM News Now. Be back with Healthwatch next.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, more than 3,000 quilt panels are displayed in San Francisco to honor lives lost because of AIDS. The quilt panels were laid out at Golden Gate Park Saturday, with each one representing a lost life. This weekend marked the 35th anniversary of the National AIDS Memorial Quilts. It's now considered to be the world's largest community arts project. The event organizer says the quilt should not be a symbol of sorrow or mourning, but a reminder for people to be kind to one another. Well, using a sponge might not be the cleanest way to clean your dirty dishes. In a new study, researchers at a Norwegian Food Research Institute say kitchen sponges hold on to way more bacteria than a kitchen brush does. Researchers say a single sponge can harbor a higher number of bacteria than there are people on Earth, including salmonella. This happens because the sponge stays wet and humid, and it collects food residue, resulting in a greater environment for bacteria to grow. Scientists say it really doesn't matter how often you clean the sponge or how often. Bacterial growth is just hard to avoid in a wet sponge. They say brushes are better because they dry out and the bacteria die. The first COVID-19 vaccinations for children under 5 could start as early as the week of June 20th. But as parents wait for a final decision on vaccines for this age group, a rollout plan is already underway. Mandy Gaither has more on what parents need to know.
It's what many parents have been waiting for, the protection of a COVID-19 vaccine for young children.
Realistically, it means we could see shots in arms of kids under 5 as early as the week of June 20th.
FDA vaccine advisors are set to meet next week to discuss authorizing emergency use of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 6 months through 5 years and Pfizer's vaccine for children 6 months through 4 years of age. Pending those decisions, the CDC will make final recommendations about the vaccines. But before that even happens, the White House says it's planning for all scenarios. Last week, 10 million vaccine doses were made available to pre-order for children under 5. Millions more will be ready to go in the coming weeks.
This approach allows us to seed communities with enough vaccine so that it is readily accessible and equitably distributed across the country.
While most parents are expected to seek a vaccine from their pediatrician, a senior administration official says additional vaccine clinics and sites will be set up at easy-to-access locations for parents, including pharmacies, schools, children's hospitals, diaper banks, community health centers, clinics, museums, libraries, and organizations serving minority communities across the country.
The White House says it is partnering with state and local governments, healthcare providers, federal pharmacy partners, national community-based organizations, and others to ship and distribute vaccines across the country. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Coming up, the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office wants your help locating a van stolen from Riverton School.
We got a balmy one on our hand. Heat advisories already in effect, feeling like triple digits for the rest of the week. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the Joplin Public Library celebrates 120 years of bringing fun and learning to the community.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 5:32. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip.
It is a pretty start, that is for sure. It is a warm start as well. Check out that live look outside the television. See, that's hard to beat right there with the light fluffy cloud cover that we have. And there we are over 7th and Rangeline, awaiting on sunrise. And we're already at 80 degrees pre-sunrise. Got a whole bunch of 80s already on the board with winds coming in from the south and doing so in double-digit fashion. And so that is exactly what's leading us to not only heat advisories, but also excessive heat warnings down to the south for northeast Oklahoma, lasting until tonight, and not going to be surprised if those don't get extended all the way through the rest of the work week, because after we get to the 7-day forecast, you'll notice that even when we go down a degree or two here for the middle of the week, a degree or two is really not going to make a whole bunch of a difference with the amount of humidity that we've got hanging around. Yesterday was kind of a harbinger of what we can expect this week, as it's going to feel in between, say, about 108 to 115. 115 more so down when you get to the far southwestern portion of the 4 states, but everybody's going to be squarely putting up with triple-digit heat indices for the rest of the week.
All right, well, if you don't like the heat, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to get used to it.
Oh, well, if you say that.
I like what you have on top of it. It's not the heat, it's the humidity. It's going to be one or the other, yeah.
Just throws it into the oppressive category
yeah.
each and every
Oh,
day.
wait a minute. Do we not? We just kind of barely get into it Wednesday? It's very humid, almost oppressive?
No, you're going to, by that point in time, that's because our actual temperature on Wednesday sinks to 91. Sinking, right?
Ouch.
Yeah,
Ouch.
just dropping down on the old mercury.
There you go. Fun, fun, fun.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get used to it. Welcome to the 4 states, right?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, we don't have to worry about rain.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. It'll just feel like it's always raining.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Thanks, Michael. Around 5 o'clock Saturday morning, a 2020 Ford XL 10-passenger van is stolen from Riverton schools. Here's a photo provided. It's an exemplar photo, though. The school's logo, Rams Head Riverton Schools USD 404, is actually featured on the doors. Anyone with information about this crime is asked to contact the Cherokee County, Kansas Sheriff's Office. That phone number, 620-429-3992, or you can text Tip Cherokee to 888-777. We'll bring you updates on the story as it develops on our website at koamnewsnow.com. One area library turns the page on another year. On Sunday, the Joplin Public Library celebrated its 120-year anniversary. The library is the largest library between Tulsa and Springfield. It was joined by, the folks there were joined by Senator Bill White and other state representatives while receiving dedications from both offices.
We're very lucky to have the support that we have from the community, whether that be the individual citizens in the community, whether that be the city people, whether that be community organizations around town. We have a ton of community partnerships, and without that support, without that drive for people to partner and work with us, we would not be as successful as we are today.
Library now holds more than 100,000 books. To end Pride Fest weekend, Pittsburgh, Kansas Pride hosted an event to bring local small businesses to show off some of their items, from baked goods, crafts to homemade jewelry. These business owners definitely support Pittsburgh Pride. Events were held all weekend to raise money for Pittsburgh Pride and to have some fun as well.
It's the coolest thing to be able to see so many queer people in one space. We don't always get to do that. You sometimes have to kind of be secretive about it, especially in places like the Midwest. And so getting to just be who you are in a space that accepts you and loves you is really awesome.
If you want to learn more about Pittsburgh, Kansas Pride, you can go to our website at koamnewsnow.com. New developments following Saturday's arrest of a group of suspected white supremacists wearing riot gear near a Pride event in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. All 31 men have been charged with criminal conspiracy. Lilia Luciano is tracking the developments.
These guys stopped a U-Haul full of dudes, masked up.
Police in Coeur d'Alene pulled over a U-Haul, finding 31 suspected white supremacists packed inside. They were zip-tied and arrested, accused of planning to riot.
They had shields, shin guards, and other riot gear with them, including at least one smoke grenade.
The police chief said the dozens arrested on misdemeanor conspiracy charges appear to be members of Patriot Front, a hate group according to the Southern Poverty Law Center. A concerned citizen called 911 to report them.
Based on the gear that the individuals had with them, the stuff they had in the possession and in the U-Haul with them, along with paperwork that was seized from them, that they came to riot downtown.
The group was stopped just blocks away from an LGBTQ pride parade.
The quote that we received through dispatch was, it, quote, looked like a little army that was loading up into the vehicle.
The suspects come from 12 states, among them Thomas Ryan Rousseau. He's one of the leaders of the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia that turned deadly in 2017.
You can see in the back of the U-Haul, looks like a flag and what looks to be a shield.
The arrests come just 5 days after Department of Homeland Security warned domestic violent extremism remains one of the biggest terror threats in the country. Here's Michael with a look at your forecast.
All right, Tanya, once again, here's where we're going to be for the rest of this week. It is going to be very, very humid. And so the fact that we're looking at temperatures right now that are in the 80s for the most part, some high 70s still hanging out there. Got to remember, go ahead and tack on 4 to 5 degrees right now, and this is pre-sunrise. So if we're going to talk about getting up to 95, actual temperature later on, it's going to feel about like 105, work down to the southwestern portion of the 4 states. In northeast Oklahoma, there is a real good shot that we see heat index readings that are going to be in between 112 and 115.
This morning, we are discussing the January 6th hearings. The House Select Committee investigating the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol begins its second day of hearings later this morning. And this follows day one's primetime debut. in which nearly 20 million people tuned in. Now, today's hearing is expected to focus on former President Trump's efforts to spread falsehoods about a stolen election. This while panel members say they have enough evidence for the Justice Department to weigh unprecedented criminal charges. Adam Kinzinger, one of the two Republicans on the 9-member panel, says the hearings should serve as a warning.
About 5 or 6 people slated to testify beginning this morning. Our question for you, are you watching the January 6 hearings? Right now, 84% of you say no, really don't have any interest in it, compared to 16% who I guess either did watch last week or are going to watch this morning. You can take part each and every morning, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. You can also connect to us via our Facebook page at KOAM News Now.
All right, thanks, Michael. And that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, we introduce you to Jake Tebold, a high school graduate who took an inspiring 30 steps to receive his diploma. Plus, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro sits down with Iran's supreme leader over the weekend. We're going to tell you what the two had to discuss. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, intense fighting between Ukrainian and Russian troops for the key city of Severodnesque. The city is one of two at the epicenter of fighting in Ukraine's east, and Ukrainian officials have said most of Severodnesque is now under Russian control. Matthew Chance with the latest.
Every day we're seeing reports coming from Severodnesque, which is the last city that is nominally under Ukrainian government control in the Luhansk region. Luhansk is half of Donbass, remember, and Donbass is what the Russians say is their military priority at the moment. Every day we're seeing reports coming out of it, a little bit more Russian advancing, there's a bit of to and froing on the ground, but it seems a question of when, not if, that important key city will fall completely under Russian control. The Ukrainians, for their part, seem to be making it as difficult as possible, bringing the fight to a street-to-street level to, on the one hand, neutralize the artillery advantage that the Russians have, but also to make it as painful as possible for the Russians to declare what would be a big political victory for them when they take eventual control over that city, and of course to divert Russian resources. This is a battle for that Luhansk region that has cost not just the Ukrainians but the Russians enormously, and of course the more military personnel and material they put in to that battle, that fight, the less they're able to defend other areas that they've conquered elsewhere in Ukraine, and to some extent the Ukrainians say they've been exploiting that by launching counteroffensives in the south of the country, for instance, over the past several weeks. But also, it's depleting Russia's sort of energy as well. And so I think that the sense is that when this phase of the battle, of this conflict, comes to a close, when it eventually does that, there may well be a natural pause as both sides regroup and work out what they're going to do next and gather forces in order to do that.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro meets with Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei on Saturday, and that's according to the supreme leader's official website. Khamenei was quoted by Iranian state television Press TV saying resistance is the only way to counter pressure from the U.S. Quote, the successful experience of the two countries has showed that resistance is the only way to counter these pressures, Khamenei said in a meeting with Maduro. That's according to Press TV. The meeting comes after Maduro met Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi earlier in the day, and the two countries signed a 20-year strategic cooperation deal. Family and friends of missing journalist Dom Phillips and indigenous expert Bruno Pereira are calling for answers. They protested on the streets of Rio on Sunday. This comes as authorities announce personal belongings, including a backpack and shoes owned by the missing British reporter, were found in the Amazon. The pair disappeared in the remote area of Brazil's Amazon last week. On Friday, Brazilian federal police officials also stated that organic material that is apparently human was also discovered by search teams near the location where Phillips and Pereira were heading to end their trip. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Officials with the Grand River Dam authorities say they may have recovered the body of a missing man in Grand Lake. Around 8 on Saturday night, GRDA police officers received a call from boaters who said they spotted a body in the water. Officers arrived about a mile north of Pensacola Dam along Langley Bluff. Police say the clothing on the body matched the description of Troy Young of Bixby, Oklahoma, who was last seen leaving Cedar Port Marina on May 28. Authorities say official identification will come from the Oklahoma Medical Examiner. MoDOT is seeking public input for a major upcoming project. Residents are asked to fill out an online form discussing what they feel needs to be improved along 7th Street in Joplin from Schiffer-Decker to Rangeline. Some things they're looking at include pavement improvements, safety and traffic flow, and sidewalks. The work is scheduled for 2024 and 2025. MoDOT is budgeting just under $30 million for the project. You can find more information on our website at koamnewsnow.com. One area library turns the page on another year. On Sunday, the Joplin Public Library celebrated its 120-year anniversary. The library is the largest library between Tulsa and Springfield. And joined by Senator Bill White and other state representatives while receiving dedications from both offices, the library now holds more than 100,000 books. And Saturday marks the 10-year anniversary of 24 Fitness Gym. The gym is celebrating by having vendors and giving people the chance to lift and hit personal marks in the bench press. The gym started out with one location in Carthage and has now grown to 5 locations in Southwest Missouri. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
I won't find a place to where the air conditioner is blowing today. When you do head out the door, the next thing you're going to think is, oh my goodness, it is already this warm. Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of 80s already on the board, leading to heat advisories for the majority of the 4 states indicated in orange. Down in northeast Oklahoma, that's an excessive heat warning. Everybody is going to have heat index readings that are going to be in the triple digits. It's a clean Skywatch storm tracker, just a little light cloud cover up to the north. But the big factor is making sure you stay safe when you are outside for prolonged periods of time. Let's run through it once again. A whole bunch of water needs to be in your system. Sunscreen, that's going to be a must this week. Also, too, try to take a break if you're going to be outside for extended periods. And remember, light clothing can extremely help out your body when it comes to putting up with this humidity. Be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
A high school senior in Massachusetts who was paralyzed during a hockey game took a big step on Friday. Determined to walk again, he was able to receive his diploma standing on his own 2 feet. David Benique has his inspirational story.
As Jake Thibault rolled his wheelchair across the lawn as part of the graduating class at Milton Academy, nobody was quite sure if Jake would be able to keep a promise he made to himself 9 months ago. During a youth hockey game, Jake collided with another player, hit the boards, and dropped to the ice. It left him with 2 broken bones in his back, paralyzed from the waist down, and laser focused on one goal.
Which is to walk again.
By February, Jake was crawling, pushing through hours of grueling physical therapy nearly every day.
They were like, oh, just try by yourself, and I made it 2 mats, and I was like, oh, okay. Holy cow.
A few weeks later, he was back on campus, but as graduation day approached, his goal started to seem out of reach.
He kind of realized that he wouldn't necessarily be able to walk under his own power, but he still was determined, in his words, to be vertical.
Jake Morris Thibault.
When his name was called, Jake started rolling his wheelchair across the stage, then stopped and stood up. With leg braces and a walker, but completely on his own, Jake Thibault took 30 steps and crossed his finish line. And with that, the graduates struck out into the world, led by a living example that nothing is impossible.
Just an overwhelming feeling of being proud for Jake. Never more honored to be his father.
Awesome. From here, Jake is headed to Babson College to study in the fall. His father says he is as determined as ever to walk even better and go even further. We'll be right back with another look at your forecast.
On a gorgeous morning like this, let's take some time and enjoy a view from our tower cam. There we are over 7th and Rangeline, sitting already at 79 degrees and a heat index chiming in pre-sunrise. Well, actually, right now we're right at sunrise, but you get my point, because we've actually been in the 80s for most of our overnight into the morning. These are pure temperatures. These are not heat index readings. These are pure temperatures as we sit squarely in the high 70s, low 80s right now, and we're going to have to fight, number one, the humidity all day long. Number two, double-digit winds blowing in from the south. 10 to 15 miles per hour right now. We'll eke up into 15 to 20 mile an hour range here a little bit later in the morning. What that's going to do is take the Skywatch Storm Tracker and put us in the midst of some heat advisories that are indicated in orange, extreme heat down to the southwest. That's what's in that pinkish color right there. With our actual temperatures being around 95, going to feel about like 105 to 110 during our peak heating hours this afternoon. Back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, the Grand River Dam Authority says it may have recovered the body of a missing man.
Hot heat. That is our key for the rest of this week. Heat advisories already in effect for a Monday morning, and the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the SEK Humane Society hosts a microchipping clinic.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first let's go straight to Michael Hayslip.
You could feel it growing just a little bit on Saturday. Then yesterday afternoon, well, as a matter of fact, yesterday morning, when you walked outside, you knew summer was upon us because that humidity was just lingering in the air, and now we are stuck in it. It's a gorgeous sight, though. Look at that live look outside of Television City. That's hard to beat. Temperatures, on the other hand, yeah, if we're already sitting high 70s, low 80s, a harbinger of where we're going to end up. All the rain staying up to the north, but even if you have to take a trip up to KC, it's just light shower activity. Not picking up any lightning or any storm reports. Oh, and I say that, and look, Mother Nature decides to throw down a strike just on the west side of I-49. She was waiting for me to say that, it seemed like. Well, that's what we're looking at regionally speaking, so really no travel concerns if you have to be out on the road. The air conditioners are going to be working overtime in the vehicles with heat advisories indicated for our counties in orange. That's an excessive heat warning that you see down to the southwest, where we could see heat index readings in between 112 and 115. It's impressive in geographic scope. Runs from the Gulf Coast all the way up to the Great Lakes, right along the Mississippi River Valley. Carve it out to our west, where they've got some cooler temperatures, but we are stuck right in the throes of it. As a matter of fact, even a little bit hotter as you head toward the Mississippi. You'll notice that's where that kind of orange just runs right along the river. Weather trend for this Monday, highs around 95 degrees, factor in the high humidity and the south wind, and what we will have is going to be the oppressive category. Going to hang around pretty much all week long. Tanya was asking about Wednesday. She goes, that's a little dip right there. Maybe that's just considered very humid, not oppressive. Well, psychologically, if it makes you feel any better, as a matter of fact, Wednesday we only top out at 91. Yeah, only 91.
Well, the problem is that's not what it feels like. That's the actual.
That will not be what it feels like. Even on Wednesday, it's going to feel close to 100.
Yeah, which is why it says hot.
And I understand why the National Weather Service does it, and they let those expire at 8 o'clock. You know, it gets a little bit better overnight. I honestly don't know why they just don't say, and you're going to have a heat advisory this week.
Yeah, just be safe out there. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, officials with the Grand River Dam Authority say they may have recovered the body of a missing man in Grand Lake. Around 8 on Saturday night, GRDA police officers received a call from boaters who said they spotted a body in the water. Officers arrived about a mile north of Pensacola Dam along Langley Bluff. Police say the clothing on the body matched the description of Troy Young of Bigsby, Oklahoma, who was last seen leaving Cedar Port Marina on May 28th. Authorities say official identification will come from the Oklahoma Medical Examiner. Well, news out of Montgomery County. Officials with the Independence Police Department say they have captured 39-year-old Brian Metzger. He was caught after a brief pursuit. Police were searching for Metzger, saying he intentionally hit another man with a car and then left the scene. And this was just over a week ago. Metzger was wanted on a charge of attempted murder. Authorities did not release any additional details related to his capture. Cherokee County Sheriff's Office wants your help locating a stolen van. At about 5 o'clock Saturday morning, a 2020 Ford XL 10-passenger van was stolen from Riverton schools. Photo provided here is an exemplar photo. The school's logo, Ram's Head, Riverton Schools, USD 404, is featured on the doors. Anyone with information about this crime is asked to contact the Cherokee County, Kansas Sheriff's Office. That number, 620-429-3992, or you can simply text TIP Cherokee to 888-777. We're going to bring you updates on this story as it develops on our website at koamnewsnow.com. MoDOT is seeking public input for a major upcoming project. Residents are asked to fill out an online form discussing what they feel needs to be improved along 7th Street in Joplin from Schiffer-Decker to Rangeline. Some things they're looking at include pavement improvements, safety and traffic flow, and sidewalks. The work is scheduled for 2024 and 2025. MoDOT is budgeting just under $30 million for the project. You can find more information on our website at koamnewsnow.com. Well, Wednesday was World Oceans Day, but on Saturday, the Creative Learning Alliance Center in Joplin set up experiments and crafts for kids to learn about how to save the earth, keep water clean, and so much more. Creative Learning Alliance is excited to help kids learn hands-on and make it fun at the same time.
I get the enjoyment of watching the light bulb go on in a very real, hands-on way for kids in a very non-textbook, non-school feeling kind of way. So even though we love the learning that they do at school, we also love the learning that they do out in the world.
If you want to learn more about the Creative Learning Alliance, you can go to our website at koamnewsnow.com. Young anglers had the opportunity on Saturday to catch some fish and learn about fishing, conservation, and just have fun at the 21st Annual Kids Fishing Day at Kellogg Lake in Carthage. Participants brought their own fishing equipment. The Missouri Department of Conservation and Carthage Rotary provided refreshments and worms for everyone for free.
That's what this whole event is about, is giving the children an opportunity to find a lifetime event that they can participate in.
Anyone in Missouri could fish over the weekend for free, even without a fishing license. Well, this weekend in Pittsburgh went to the dogs and cats. Southeast Kansas Humane Society hosted its first annual microchip clinic. Just for $20, pet owners brought their dog or cat in to have the chip put just under their coat. The chip is the size of a grain of rice and only takes a few seconds to implant. Then you can go online and register with your information. Southeast Kansas Humane Society is at full capacity and will be waiving all dog adoption fees coming up June 18th and 19th. All adoptable animals are up to date with shots, microchipped, as well as spayed and neutered.
So with this being a low cost, we're trying to get more tools into our community to get these animals, if they are lost, back to their homes.
If you'd like to learn more about adoption or fostering or even the microchipping program, you can go to our website at koamnewsnow.com. Today, back in 1966, Miranda Rights are established. The U.S. Supreme Court handed down its decision in Miranda versus Arizona, establishing that all criminal suspects must be advised of their rights before interrogation. It's now considered standard police procedure, even becoming cliche to hear in television shows like Law & Order. The roots of this case go back to March 2nd, 1962, when an 18-year-old Phoenix woman told police she'd been abducted, driven to the desert, and raped. She was given a polygraph test, but the results were inconclusive. Police were brought to arresto Miranda due to the police tracking a license plate number, and the woman could not pick Miranda out of a lineup, but he was still brought into custody and interrogated anyway.
After the going to the Supreme Court, Ernesto Miranda would actually go to prison for the abduction of that young woman in Arizona. So he was found guilty. What year was that?
1962. When the case happened, Miranda Rights would be.
Isn't that crazy? That's not that long ago.
1966, their Miranda Rights were established.
That's something else.
The case was.
But that's not a long time ago.
No, and I feel like it's been going on forever. But
Right.
that's yeah.
I'm gonna guess that was probably Earl Warren's court. I do not know that for sure. History teachers, don't get mad at me for that one. 95 degrees is what we have today. Heat advisory is going to put us with heat index readings in between 105 and 110. It's just going to be hot and humid. Take precautions, whole lot of water, whole lot of sunscreen.
All right, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we've got a special guest stopping by the studio to talk about our ongoing More Power Tower project. Plus, there's some crazy political happenings in Alaska right now, including Santa Claus on the ballot. We'll explain. And a new form of birth control is on the way for men. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, 2 people dead, 4 injured in a shooting at a Gary, Indiana nightclub early Sunday. Victims identified as a 28 and 34-year-old. One of the wounded shooting victims is listed in critical condition. Gary police say there was a large crowd at Playos nightclub at the time of the incident. Right now, no suspects are in custody. Family, friends, and loved ones of the Orlando community spent Sunday honoring victims of the Pulse nightclub massacre. 49 bells rang out at a special service to remember the victims killed in the 2016 attack. The service took place at the First United Methodist Church of Orlando, just less than 2 miles away from the popular gay nightclub. The service included songs by the Orlando Gay Chorus, and a moment of silence was held Friday at City Hall to remember those lost in the shooting. Speaking about the shooting, Mayor Buddy Dyer said, "I continue to be proud of our community. We did not respond with hate or fear. We responded with love and with compassion and with unity." The wildest congressional contest of 2022 unfolding in Alaska. Former governor, one-time Republican vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin making a political comeback attempt. The House seat opened for the first time in nearly half a century. Former Representative Don Young died at 88 in March. He represented the House since 1973. In all, 48 candidates, including Palin, are on the ballot. And one of those contenders is, guess he goes by Santa Claus. He's a 75-year-old North Pole councilman, a bearded Anglican monk, wears a red robe. He's an independent candidate, calls himself a Democratic Socialist. Alaska voters had to pick one and mail in their ballot by Saturday. Top 4 go to the special election August 16th. That's a look at today's top national stories. We'll be right back.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, people with above normal blood glucose levels may be at higher risk for heart attacks. The condition is known as prediabetes, and researchers in New Jersey found it's linked to 25% higher odds of having a heart attack. They say it's a wake-up call to stick to a healthy diet and regular exercise. Well, teenagers started eating less junk food during the pandemic. A study at Broward College says it's in the first decline in 30 years, with adolescents consuming significantly less ultra-processed food, including potato chips, candy, and sugary drinks. And a new form of birth control for men could be on the way. A contraceptive development program finds 2 experimental pills are effective at suppressing testosterone, which lowers sperm count. Researchers say the drugs do not appear to cause unacceptable side effects. Let's look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Been some 17 years since Star Wars Episode 3, when Hayden Christensen donned the armor of Darth Vader. Well, he's back. We've got a Disney Plus series, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and our man Rick Damigella brings us the lowdown.
Hayden Christensen returns to the Star Wars universe as Darth Vader in Obi-Wan Kenobi.
These are characters that mean a lot to us, and it was an incredible privilege getting to work on the prequels and be a part of those stories.
If you're not with me, then you're my enemy. Don't make me kill you.
I time in the suit is also, you know, very fulfilling. It's an incredible costume and really an honor to get to put it on.
I do not fear the dark side.
We spent about 4 to 5 hours each day that we were doing that, just getting the prosthetics put on, and it was an amazing experience just watching that sort of visual creation take place.
Anakin Skywalker is alive.
The suit has improved a bit from the one that I put on for episode 3. Moving is a little bit more manageable, but still a challenge. So much fun to get to swing a lightsaber again, and it came back to me pretty quick.
In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
And granted, that was 17 years ago he played that role, but I tell you what, you watch those interviews right there, you see that exact same smile that we all remember. I'm not saying he aged as well as Natalie Portman. Nobody's aged as well as Natalie Portman. Daily Almanac for our June the 13th would put our average high at 86. Well, we're going to be about 10 degrees above that. We won't challenge that record of 102 that dates all the way back to 1953. But also, too, at the bottom of your screen, at least we won't have to add any monthly or annual precipitation this week. Anything that we do see is going to be probably trace amounts if we pick up anything at all, and that won't be till later in the week. Live look over 7th and Range Line, the glow cloud just trying to creep above the tree line, and we were already sitting in the high 70s, low 80s pre-sunrise. Couple factors at play here with the temperature. Number 1, the wind. Number 2, the humidity. Let's go ahead and take a look at outside of Television City. A little light cloud cover hanging around, but no precipitation to speak of. Here's where we sit. 79 in Joplin, 80s in Fort Scott and in Pittsburgh. Let's roll 80 in Chanute as well, 77 in Monette, 79 in Miami. Now, we talk about those other 2 factors that we have at play. One of those is going to be the relative humidity that's not going to back off one bit. As a matter of fact, look at what happens when you get to the east of us, and that's an indicator when we get to the national map, and I'll give you an idea here. When we get to the national map, you'll notice it gets warmer the farther east that you head toward the Mississippi. So the fact that we're going to have a scorcher, they got a chance to set some records here in mid-Missouri and eastern Missouri out by St. Louis. Wind tracker is going 10 to 15 miles per hour right now out of the south, eventually 15 to 20. Now, we do not have any wind advisories. We'll stay out of that mix. We do have heat advisories and excessive heat warnings. Let's talk a little bit about if you have to be on the road today. If you've got a Midwest regional road trip, you'll be in luck. Everything up in Kansas City, it's just simply shower activity. We picked up one random thunder lightning strike. That was about it. And really, if you haven't headed out the door as of now, by the time you get up there, that thing will all be cleared off as it moves off to the northeast. Here's the advisories that we were talking about. For the orange, that's the heat advisory lasting until tonight, and it'll just reemerge tomorrow. Down to the southwest in northeast Oklahoma, that's an excessive heat warning. Not a big difference. Really, we're talking about 105 to 110 is what it's going to feel like in the orange. But you get down into northeast Oklahoma right there, and Washington, Nevada counties, we're going to be talking about feeling in between 110 to 115 a little bit later on. That gives you an idea as it stretches from the Gulf all the way to the Great Lakes. Here's what I was talking about. When you get out to the east of us, right here, look at that, really right along the river is where we see some of the warmest temperatures, and we're going to go 90s all week long. Back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, the Grand River Dam Authority says they may have recovered the body of a missing man.
Lock in. We've got not only a hot Monday on our hands, we've got a hot and humid week ahead. We've got the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, the SEK Humane Society hosts a microchipping clinic.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6:27. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip.
Tennessee Williams said it best, some like it hot. Get ready for it. The true taste of a four-state summer officially begins this week. Now, you may have felt it yesterday as well. That's a live look over 7th and Rangeline. I thought that was really cool with those low-lying clouds right there, right at the tree line. Kind of a gorgeous looking shot. Once again, Tanya and I, sometimes we just feel like we're on a soapbox, but just the importance of it, because we haven't had a week like we're going to have so far in 2022. So it's staying hydrated, making sure the kids stay hydrated, making sure the pets stay hydrated. A lot of sunscreen. Also, too, don't forget, some lighter clothing can really help when we talk about the humidity that we're going to have this week, as we're already sitting in the high 70s, low 80s. No worries on the Skywatch storm tracker, but when we talk about watches and warnings, we have heat advisories for our counties in orange, excessive heat warnings down to the southwest throughout northeast Oklahoma. And give you an idea exactly where that heat wave is, it kind of like, it sits over the Mississippi River and then moves its way to the east. People out in central and western Kansas, they actually have cooler temperatures. The color contour, very, very strange as far as it not invading them with that low humidity. It's the high humidity and the places with the higher winds that are going to have to suffer through this week, as we'll reach up around 95 degrees today, feel about, say about 107 to 110. And Tanya, it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Our heat index reading is pretty much going to hover triple digits all week long. We talk about that excessive heat warning. Little difference between, what's the difference between heat advisory, heat warning, and it really, when it gets that warm, there's not really a big difference. But, well, the majority of the 4 states is going to be in that 105 to 110 range. Down to Washington County and Nowata County, we're looking at anywhere from heat index readings 112 to 115. And that runs that sliver from our counties in Oklahoma pretty much all the way down to the Red River.
Hard pass on that.
Whoa!
Hard pass on that. Oh my goodness. All right, thanks, Michael. We'll start this half hour with news out of Montgomery County, Kansas, where officials with the Independence Police Department say they have captured 39-year-old Brian Metzger. He was caught after a brief pursuit. Police were searching for Metzger, saying he intentionally hit another man with a car and then left the scene, and this happened just over a week ago. Metzger was wanted on a charge of attempted murder. Authorities did not release any additional details related to his capture. Officials with the Grand River Dam Authority say they may have recovered the body of a missing man in Grand Lake. Around 8 Saturday night, GRDA police officers received the call from boaters who said they spotted a body in the water. Officers arrived about a mile north of Pensacola Dam along Langley Bluff. Police say the clothing on the body matched the description of Troy Young of Bixby, Oklahoma, who was last seen leaving Cedar Point Marina on May 28th. Authorities say official identification will come from the Oklahoma Medical Examiner. Cherokee County Sheriff's Office wants your help locating a stolen van. Around 5 o'clock Saturday morning, a 2020 Ford XL 10-passenger van stolen from Riverton schools. The photo provided here is an exemplar photo. The school's logo, Ram's Head, Riverton Schools USD 404, is actually featured on the doors. Anyone with information about this crime is asked to contact the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office. That phone number 620-429-3992, or you can text TIP Cherokee to 888-777. We're going to bring you updates on this story as it develops on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, to end Pride Fest weekend, Pittsburgh, Kansas Pride hosted an event to bring local small businesses to show off some of their items, from baked goods to crafts to homemade jewelry. These business owners support Pittsburgh Pride. Events were held all weekend to raise money for Pittsburgh Pride and to have some fun as well.
It's the coolest thing to be able to see so many queer people in one space. We don't always get to do that. You sometimes have to kind of be secretive about it, especially in places like the Midwest. And so getting to just be who you are in a space that accepts you and loves you is really awesome.
If you want to learn more about Pittsburgh, Kansas Pride, you can go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, this weekend in Pittsburgh went to the Dogs and Cats. Southeast Kansas Humane Society hosted its first annual microchip clinic. For just $20, pet owners brought their dog or cat in to have the chip put just under their coat. The chip is the size of a grain of rice and only takes a few seconds to implant. Then you can go online and register with your information. Southeast Kansas Humane Society is at full capacity and will be waiving all dog adoption fees on June 18th and 19th. Now, all adoptable animals are up to date with shots, microchipped, as well as spayed and neutered.
So with this being a low cost, we're trying to get more tools into our community to get these animals, if they are lost, back to their homes.
If you're wanting to learn more about adoption or fostering, you can go to our website at koamnewsnow.com. Well, Food Not Bombs. It's a mutual aid group in Joplin that aims to help out the area's houseless community. Everything they supply comes from members of the group. As we approach summer, they are in need of more supplies. On Saturday, they held a fundraiser at the Old Broadway Club to be able to get supplies. What they're looking for is hydration packets, water, and other needs.
The money for the fundraiser will go toward buying summer supplies. It's just so important that the houseless community stay hydrated during the summer. We will buy the electrolyte packets just so there's no fatalities this summer from dehydration.
Anyone in attendance could also bring a bag of non-perishable food items to be entered into a drawing for a $50 gift card. Well, on Saturday, the Four States Crafters Group held an event for vendors at the Miami Senior Center. The goal is to give people in the community a chance to come together through shopping while giving vendors an opportunity to sell their goods. Some items there included custom clothing, jewelry, and sculptures.
It brings the community together. Getting the community out and bringing everybody together is a real important thing.
The event had more than 15 vendors. Saturday marked the 10-year anniversary of 24 Fitness Gym. And the gym celebrated by having vendors and giving people the chance to lift and hit personal marks in the bench press. The gym started out with one location in Carthage and has now grown to 5 locations in Southwest Missouri.
At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's just literally all about setting a community standard and knowing that we're all here to help everyone, whether it's in the gym or just in day-to-day life. Like, we've all just got each other's backs.
Of course, that was Michael pumping some iron in the background there. They plan to open 2 more locations in 2023. Well, today, back in 1967, Thurgood Marshall was appointed to the Supreme Court. President Lyndon B. Johnson appointed the Court of Appeals Judge Thurgood Marshall to fill the seat of retiring Supreme Court Associate Justice Tom C. Clark. On August 30th, after a heated debate, the Senate confirmed Marshall's nomination with a vote of 69 to 11. 2 days later, he was sworn in by Chief Justice Earl Warren, making him the first African American in history to sit on America's highest court.
Affirmation. That was the Warren court that did the Miranda case.
There you go.
There it is. It was the Warren court. Wow, history teachers around the 4 states, I apologize for not being confident in my answer. What year was that? You say 67?
Oh, of course you asked. Let's see. I just read it.
So I think you said 67.
67.
67?
67.
So he just missed the Miranda case by 1 year.
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, because that was 66.
That was, yeah.
The arrest was 62. The rights were, Miranda rights became a thing in 66. And then
he was
67.
there in 67. I'll be darned. How about that?
Take you back to the 60s today. We like it.
Was that a shot at my hair? Watch it. Watch it.
Hope your hair stays in place with all the humidity out there today.
Oh, I got tightened up.
Yeah.
See that?
I see that.
Yeah. Mary said, I got to tighten you up before that humidity gets you. And the humidity is going to get you today because our temperatures are going to be in the mid-90s. But as Tanya alluded to, it's going to feel about like 105 because of the humidity and the south wind. Even as we dip into our nighttime hours, look at our overnight lows. My goodness. And so what we'll do on the muggy meter is we'll pretty much just keep this entire week up around the oppressive category. talking about a 7-day forecast where even though our temperatures drop on Tuesday and Wednesday, it's still going to feel like triple digits. And at least our shots for rain are very, very slim. Saturday and Sunday, we're mellowing down just a little bit. So a delightful weekend in store.
We'll probably want a little sprinkle come Thursday or Friday.
Here's the thing, it's going to build and build and build, that humidity, and eventually it's going to have to pop, but it's not going to be one of those that relieves us so much. It'll be a shower or two. That's it.
All right, thanks, Michael. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. Replacement for McDonald's in Russia opens its doors in Moscow's Pushkin Square. We'll have more details. Plus, with day 2 of the January 6th hearings coming up today, there's going to be a lot to digest from it. And we want to know if you've been following the January 6th hearings. We let you weigh in. We'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, Americans grappling with inflation at a 4-decade high got another jolt to the pocketbook. The national average price of a gallon of gas surpassed $5 for the first time ever, and that's according to AAA. California is still leading the way with the highest gas prices at well above $6 a gallon for regular. Even if buying a Tesla remains out of your budget, purchasing its shares is becoming more affordable. The electric car company proposed a 3-for-1 stock split that would turn each Tesla share into 3, lower the price without affecting the company's overall market value. Tesla stock closed just under $6.97 a piece on Friday. It's about a 39% drop from early April. Crowds lined up in Moscow's Pushkin Square to check out the new fast food restaurant that replaced Russia's first McDonald's outlet, which stood there for close to 30 years. After Russia invaded Ukraine, McDonald's sold its 850 Russian restaurants to a businessman who is opening rebranded stores under a new name, which in English roughly translates to this is what it translates to: tasty, and that's it. Okay. 15 of the former McDonald's were set to open their doors in Moscow on Sunday, with dozens more planned for later in the month. Tasty, and that's it. It's been called the shortage no one is talking about: tampons and pads.
About that.
Supply chain problems and inflation have hit virtually all consumer goods, and period products are no different. Top retailers and manufacturers acknowledge the shortages this week, confirming complaints that have been circulating on social media for months. So obviously they've been talking about it if it's circulating on social media. Tampon prices are up nearly 10% from a year ago, and that's according to Bloomberg. Shortages appear to stem from supply issues with key materials like cotton and plastic. Makes sense when you consider those same materials are also used in personal protective equipment, which have been in high demand since the start of the pandemic. The war in Ukraine has further crimped supply because Russia and Ukraine are both major exporters of fertilizer used to grow cotton. And the drought in Texas has hit cotton growth too. Of course, material shortages and supply chain bottlenecks hitting a lot of products, but much like the baby formula shortage, there's a biological demand here that cannot be easily substituted. That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Michael for something to talk about.
Tanya will vouch for me on this. It's something that I rail on and on about. Number 1, taxing feminine hygiene products. Number 2, not making them available to people in jails and prisons and making them have to purchase that. That is something that Tanya's heard me rail about for years. Look, I've got females in my household. I don't understand it. It is something that really irks me. All right, that being said, on to our something to talk about on the KOAM News Now Instapoll and our Facebook page. The January 6th hearings, as the House Select Committee investigating the attack on the U.S. Capitol, now begins its second day of hearings. Those are going to take place later this morning. This will follow day 1's primetime debut, in which nearly 20 million people tuned in. Today's hearing, it will focus on former President Trump's efforts to spread what the committee says are falsehoods about a stolen election. This while panel members say they have enough evidence for the Justice Department to weigh unprecedented criminal charges. Our question for you this morning is, are you watching the January 6th hearings? Right now, 72% of you, it's been about in between 70 and 80% all morning long. 72%, down to 70. That's a great thing about the Instapoll. Changes just like that. say no, not watching it. You can take part each and every morning, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or connect to us via our Facebook page. We'll be back to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, but first, off to the Big Apple. Let's check in with Mr. Tony.
I'm Tony DeCopel. Coming up on CBS Mornings, actor Bryan Cranston joins us to talk about his new movie. It's based on the true story of a couple who won the lottery and used the money to revive their small town. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Sergeant First Class Clovis Steele. The Joplin, Missouri native served from 1946 to 1950, 1953, and from 1969 to 1970. Sergeant Steele served in the South Pacific, Germany, Korea, and Vietnam. To Sergeant First Class Clovis Steele, we thank you, today's four-state hero.
Tanya, you give a multitude of dates right there. You want to talk about answering the call. That is something else right there. Let's get the birthday list started with Adelie Knapp, who's celebrating her 4th birthday. What a gorgeous picture, Miss Adelie. Would love to know where that background was right there. And I want you to have a marvelous birthday as she celebrates in Joplin.
All right, and we've got Clara Ferguson
Yay,
turning 11 years old this year.
What we got?
Softball star there in Moran, Kansas, 11 years old.
Playing for Main Street Styles right there. Love that. Love that. Why is the glove Photoshop backwards?
I think it's just like an added addition to the picture after the fact. Figuring that one out.
Yeah, it caught me off guard, and I was like, wait a second, I get this. All right, happy birthday, Clara. Carly Kirkwood is celebrating her 14th anniversary, or 14th birthday. Look at this, a little Labette County pride right there, which is interesting because it says she's in Welch. But I know that shirt because it's got Grizzlies on it, and I can see Labette County underneath it. 6'1", half dozen. Carly, a very happy 14th birthday to you, with love from Mama and Papa. Excuse me, let me do that. Mima and Papa.
Yeah, get that right. All right, happy birthday, Carly, and happy birthday to Dixie Layson, who is celebrating birthday number 19 in Columbus.
No, we got to keep the sports theme going there. That's going to be Barton County track.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. Jamie Hernandez, now a 20-year-old. Miss Jamie, a very happy birthday to you, and what a beautiful picture she celebrates in Oswego.
Ah, I like their matching outfits. That's cute.
I like the bow and the matching shirts. I think it's great.
I like the little one's upside down smile.
Good call.
All right. Happy birthday, Jamie, and happy birthday to Ty Covey, who is...
How's he 23?
Obviously a Star Wars fan. I love it. Ty is in Uniontown.
We've been doing Ty's birthday since he was, since he was probably before he could drive.
Well, yes, because, I've been here 16 years and you just a few more.
That's a great picture, though. Happy birthday, Ty. Good to see you, man. Chad Pierce is celebrating his 36th birthday, and Chad, a happy birthday in Altoona. Looks like we had a little racing weekend right there.
Yeah. Probably half of the people in the picture are looking at the print.
Yeah.
What's going on there? Happy birthday, Chad. And in Weir, Kansas, turning 77 today. It's time to celebrate for Don Watson. That's a wonderful picture there of Mr. Watson.
Shirley York's a good friend of our show. She turns 86 years old, and Shirley not only a good friend of the show, but she's pretty much second family because she happens to be our graphic artist Will grandmother. And so Miss Shirley, a very happy birthday to you. She celebrates in Pittsburgh.
Oh.
That's a cool picture right there, laid back on the car.
I like it.
Yeah.
Vivian Smith, Miss Vivian celebrating her 90th birthday this year. I think her sash says Queen, and that is an excellent description there. She is the sister of the late Senator Yvonne Starks Wilson of Kansas City, Missouri, I understand as well.
And I'll tell you what, just I'd say, and Miss Vivian, a happy birthday. You and your sister You want to talk about spitting images of each other? My goodness, that is something else. But yes, that is a birthday get-up right there. Travis and Gina Shelton, they are celebrating their 7th anniversary. And at some point, you know what they were, Tanya? On a boat. Travis and Gina, a happy 7th to you, celebrating in Fort Scott. Happy birthday and happy anniversary to all. This is where you can send them into. Now, here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Just go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for that KOAM Birthday Club today.
Coming up when the KOAM Morning News transitions over to Fox 14, we're talking about hot weather, and we know if we're having a hard time with it, imagine what our pets are going through. We got some tips to help keep your pets safe, and you're definitely going to want to know this with the way the 7-day forecast looks this week. That when we switch on over to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. More KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Officials with the Grand River Dam Authority say they may have recovered the body of a missing man in Grand Lake. Around 8 on Saturday night, GRDA police officers received a call from boaters who said they spotted a body in the water. Officers arrived about a mile north of Pensacola Dam along Langley Bluff. Police say the clothing on the body matched the description of Troy Young of Bixby, Oklahoma, who was last seen leaving Cedarport Marina on May 28th. Authorities say official identification will come from the Oklahoma Medical Examiner. MoDOT seeks public input for a major upcoming project. Residents are asked to fill out an online form discussing what they feel needs to be improved along 7th Street in Joplin from Schiffer-Decker to Rangeline. Some things they're looking at include pavement improvement, safety and traffic flow, and sidewalks. Work is scheduled for 2024 and 2025. MoDOT is budgeting just under $30 million for the project. You can find more information on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. One area library turns the page on another year. On Sunday, the Joplin Public Library celebrated its 120-year anniversary. Library is the largest library between Tulsa and Springfield. It was joined by Senator Bill White and other state representatives while receiving dedications from both offices. The library now holds more than 100,000 books. Saturday marks the 10-year anniversary of 24 Fitness Gym. The gym is celebrating, or did celebrate, by having vendors and giving people the chance to lift and hit personal marks in the bench press. Gym started out with 1 location in Carthage and has now grown to 5 locations in Southwest Missouri. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Roll the heat advisory not only for today. We'll pretty much have this map up the rest of the week as our temperatures will be up into the mid-90s. Factor in the humidity and the wind. Feeling about in between 105 to 110 today. Now, while the mercury goes down on Tuesday and Wednesday, let's still remind ourselves that's a good 5-6 degrees above normal. And a lot of water, a lot of sunscreen. And remember, light clothing can be really important when we have humidity that will remain as high as it will for the rest of this week.
That's right. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making skillet chicken robin toss in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Your morning news continues up on CBS Mornings. One of TV's most iconic casts reunites to celebrate its 30th anniversary. Actress Tisha Campbell talks about starring on Martin and the show's influence on pop culture.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, we're going to meet a 99-year-old artist who's gliding into her next birthday.
Wraps it up for this Monday edition. Try to stay cool. More importantly, be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.